brought my support quokka with me. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Quantum Work was the sponsor, but I feel a little torn at the moment because I can feel that food settling in my stomach, so I'm feeling a little bit sleepy. So we will do our level best to make sure that we keep you engaged. If you fancy your own quokka, come and see us at the booth later, and we can tell you a little bit about that origin story. So, welcome to the session. Great introduction there at the start. I am Elizabeth, but only when I'm in trouble with my mother, so please call me Beth. I am the international partner for Quantum Work Advisory, and we are, in essence, a work transformation, deep domain expert business. We operate globally, and our three core areas really are around independent talent tech research, advisory, and talent tech transformation and implementation. So that's enough about me. I'll be facilitating the session today. Let's get on to the people that really matter, that are really going to bring this subject to life. So, Amy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Beth. Hi, everybody. My name is Amy Baxendale. I'm the Global Future of Workforce Director for Arcadis, which is quite a new made-up title, but it's quite fun. For those of you who don't know, Arcadis is a global leading design and consultancy firm. So we deliver sustainable solutions around architecture, engineering, science, and consultancy for our clients around their natural and built assets. I think we were established in 1888 in Amsterdam. We're still headquartered in Amsterdam now, and we've got about 36,000 engineers, scientists, designers, consultants, all committed to improving quality of life.
Great, thanks.
Lovely. So, hi everybody. So my name is Manuel. I'm part of the Bayer Corporation. I'm leading our Skills Intelligent and Talent Flow strategy team. For those of you who don't know Bayer that well, so we're a life science company, similar like AstraZeneca earlier today. We're present in roughly 90 countries, sales of roughly 50 billion euros, and we're operating under the slogan Health for All, Hunger for None, basically in the areas of pharmaceuticals, in the areas of consumer health, and in the area of agronomics. So very much looking forward to the discussion.
Great. I'm going to do my level best to multitask, ask questions, and hit a clicker. So let's see how this goes. Okay, Manuel, so how does the skills-based approach align with Bayer's transformational business and innovation strategy? I understand you have a name for it. It's the dynamic shared ownership. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in order to understand our skills strategy, actually you need to understand our business transformation of what we call dynamic shared ownership. So when I am talking about dynamic shared ownership, I'm talking about a pretty significant system change that we have gone through, I would say, over the last 2 years. What does that actually mean? And you see a slide up here. It basically tells you we're putting the mission before the management. We're putting the action before the alignment, and we're putting micro teams before the hierarchy. In such a model, decision making is decentralized. In such a model, our teams are working in 90-day cycles where they are incorporating the feedback from the customers into their work. And the role of a leader is significantly different what a leader is normally doing. A leader in our organization, as part of this transformation, is there to coach people, is there to empower them, and also to resolve conflicts. He or she is not there to solve day-to-day problems, which is a very different way of how we have been operating in the past. We look at this as a system change, and a pretty fundamental system change that, as you can imagine, is very hard to operationalize and goes with a lot of change management. What this means and what it actually meant to our skills strategy is that actually in such a model where you work in 90-day cycles, people get more exposed to projects. And in order to do that, you need to have skill transparency, which is where our skills journey come in. Where it also plays in is in our strategy of talent flow. Let talent flow to the mission critical teams. In order to do that, you need to have transparencies on skills, and that's exactly how our skills strategy is closely related to our business transformation, which is called dynamic shared ownership.
Very cool. It's really interesting to hear you talk about that because, as you said, you're bringing in not only the operational change, but actually quite a fundamental shift in culture and behaviour as well. So we'll talk about that as we go as well. So Amy, over to you. Tell us, how has adopting a skills-based approach aligned or supported Arcadis's broader strategic priorities?
Yeah, I suppose very similar. I think we're very privileged that our skills journey is very much embedded into our business strategy, not just our people strategy. In terms of our journey, I think you can see on the slide here, there was kind of both internal and external drivers that kind of triggered our approach to start the journey. We're all obviously working in an environment that's rapidly changing and is really characterized by skills disruption. And so for us, we were very aware that we were operating in that environment and people were expecting much more hyper-personalized experiences. So that external influence was a key part of our driver. But more importantly, it really was the business pain points, as everybody's talked about today, and our strategic drivers. So a few of those, we were seeing that we were having an increased number of people leaving because they couldn't see access to career paths across the business. It broke my heart every time I heard people say it's easier to find a job outside Arcadis than in Arcadis. It's just like, that just shouldn't be how it is, right? So that voluntary attrition piece was a real strategic driver for us. We're starting to move into new areas as a business. Our clients are needing us to move into different areas and having new needs themselves. So needing to close that skills gap between what we've got now and what we need in the future was becoming really prevalent for the business. I think a couple of people today have mentioned their standardization and automation journeys. Our whole industry is going through a big standardization and automation kind of program. And so for us, we were starting to see that we were getting resistance from our people, so how could we help our people to understand where we were freeing up time from automation, how they could pivot that time and use it in more value-adding ways. We as an organisation grow through acquisition, and so a really strategic priority for us was how do we more quickly understand the skills that we're bringing in from new colleagues and quickly connect them to client work that needs to be done. So we were finding that we were doing these big acquisitions, but actually not then able to integrate those skills into the business. A key thing for us is what we call global work sharing. So our clients are more and more wanting the power of Arcadis to be brought to them wherever they are in the world. So our ability to identify where in the world those skills were and connect them to that client work was really, really critical for us. And that really, I suppose, for us is one of the biggest strategic priorities, is really how do we get that talent wherever our business, wherever our clients need it to be. And then finally, I'm sure for everyone in the room, that enabling much more inclusive, merit-based talent practices and decisions was always at the heart of us, but it really got escalated as a core strategic driver as part of this journey. So very much both external and internal trends in order to create an organisation in which skills really are underpinned through the whole of our employee life cycle.
That's fantastic. And, you know, as the title suggests, it's about building this in a sustainable way.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about how you've seen the business reacting to this change. Are they feeling tangible benefit to it now?
We are still early. So we launched talent acquisition last March and talent management last May. So we're pretty much a year in. We're starting to get some really good qualitative kind of feedback. We've piloted gigs in the UK and in India and Philippines back in March, and we launched in 2 weeks' time. Is it 2 weeks, Tizer? 2 weeks' time to the rest of the world. And again, just through those gigs pilots, we've got some really good use cases of people where people have seen opportunities they wouldn't have had before and actually have then moved into new roles as a result. So we're getting more qualitative. We have seen a reduction in our time to hire, so that obviously does give us a financial return on investment, which is fantastic. And we're starting to see more internal mobility. The data's probably not strong enough yet to be able to kind of fundamentally say that. So yeah, we are at that classic year in business going, yeah, I know, Amy, you told us we had to wait to benefits realisation for a few years, but why can't we realise them now? So we're in the classic transformation period of, yeah, we heard you, but now we still want results now. So we are navigating that with Eightfold as to what data have we got that we can start to show, but whilst keep reinforcing this is a multi-year change journey. Right. This is not, we've approached it through 4 horizons, and very purposefully that takes us to the end of next year before those 4 horizons are even completed. So yeah, we're at that delicate year in Can we see the benefits? Yeah, some are coming, but still a journey.
I think you just said the thing that's really critical there is to have the 4 horizons so that you're managing expectations.
Yeah.
I always say to people, it still takes 9 months to grow a baby. Like, you're just not going to get it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Manuel, talk to us about how your organization's incorporating internal mobility and talent marketplaces as part of that transformation.
So similar as Amy just alluded to, a skills-based, strategy requires time, right? And that is also true for us. I would say 3 things that we learned on our journey, and I think, that is pretty much the way how we talked about it, is as we connected with, our concept of talent flow, it's actually 3 things it starts with. Number 1 is, and you've all heard this, right, with panelists before, it starts with a simple skill visibility. Well, how shall I employ my people in the best manner as a company if I don't even know what they are capable of doing, right? Impossible, right? So let's start with the basics, and the basics is getting the skills from everybody into a system. That's the one thing, right? The pure skill visibility. The second topic is then you have all of that visibility. What are you doing about it, right? So you have to move to a place where you actually democratize opportunities at scale. How do you do that? You match those skills from the employees to jobs, to projects, to courses, and all the lovely things, right, that we've heard today. But then thirdly, and that is more importantly, specifically on our journey, is what we want to do is we want to move talent to work rather than work to talent. And that is a fundamental shift about how you are approaching work. So it doesn't start with a job description, what you are doing every day, but it starts actually with you as an employee thinking about where can you make the biggest impact by leveraging your skills, right? And imagine that technology alone won't solve that, and we all know that. It will enable it, but it will not solve it. So what you need to do with it, and that's what we did when we launched Talent Marketplace globally at the beginning of this year, we launched it with a strategy, which was very simple, called Be Empowered, Be Bayer. Because no technology will work if you're working with leaders who are talent holders rather than talent exporters. None of this is going to work. So you'll have to work on incentivizing your leaders to let talent flow out of their own area. And that is really difficult to do, right? And we're on a journey, but certainly what I've shared before with dynamic shared ownership is certainly helping us to kind of, I would say, unboss the career of our people.
No, that's great. And so tell us a little bit about what strategies you found most effective in getting organizational buy-in for SPO, and then the new initiatives like the gigs. So, what have you done to sustain the momentum? We've sort of talked about the 4 horizons, etc., but what else are you doing?
I think very similar to a lot of panelists today, I think the most important thing I'd say at the start is speaking the language of the business and talking the pain points of the business. I think when we were starting our journey, we were talking to lots of people, and you realise very quickly, as everyone in this room will know, everyone starts at different places, and that's very important. You start and meet your business where they're at. So really the business case and the narrative, very much speaking the language of our business and the pain points specific to our business. One thing that's very important to us is this is not a people-led program. This is a business-led change transformation. Yes, the people team, I'm a member of the people team, we are heavily involved, but we very much set up from the start, this is business-led with people team working alongside our fee-earning, client-facing clients. So there's times it doesn't always feel like that, but that is very much the kind of the narrative and the intent of the setup. So it's not a team flooded with people team members, it very much is that integrated team, and that buy-in was really essential. I think governance and stakeholder engagement, from day one, I think I had finance, tech, procurement, comms, legal, privacy, change on speed dial. So really making sure from the start that you've got all of the people. It's amazing, isn't it, how suddenly people pop up from all over the place that have nothing to do with this, that suddenly become the biggest stakeholders in the world. So really trying to kind of get that stakeholder map at the start and really think that through, and then embed them in the journey and have the governance that's important to them embedded in our approach as well. Buy-in for us, we were very privileged. Our COO of the time was our sponsor. really, really active, really vocal sponsor. He became our CEO. It was like the best day of my
Amazing.
life. I was just like, this is amazing. So, and what he did was absolutely embedded our SPO journey into the business strategy. So when we went out on Capital Markets Day to talk to our investors about our new strategy, SPO is at the heart. So I can't say that you have to have that as a key enabler, but we're very privileged that having that definitely has enabled that true top-down, top-down buy-in and driver from the start. But I suppose the biggest piece for getting that organisational buy-in is we've been very clear from the start, this is a human-centred change programme. It happens to be enabled by technology, amazing Eightfold technology, but it very much is about, this is about us changing our organisation. This isn't about us implementing a technology. Again, there's times it can feel like it's more like that, but we keep really bringing ourselves back to really having that change absolutely at the heart. So those of you who've heard our story before will know we've got a three-way partnership. So there's ourselves, Eightfold as our technology partner, and Mercer as our change implementation partner, and it really is a true three-way partnership. And again, I think the business really seeing that and believing that there is that change piece is critical. Another couple of, I guess, more tactical things in terms of that buy-in. We set up a steerco from day one. So that steerco has got 5 representatives from our client-facing business, each one of the 5 business areas. It's got legal, it's got finance, it's got myself from a people perspective, and then it's got our other 2 senior responsible owners. So Rimple from Eightfold is on our steerco, and Rimple and I's equivalent at Mercer is on there as well. So again, very much that steerco is responsible for making decisions and putting recommendations to the executive leadership team. So the business feel that they've got a voice, and the business are very much part of it. Again, not seen as that people piece. And then I suppose the last piece, a bit more classic change things, but absolutely central to the buy-in, is around that change network. So we have change sponsors who are, again, business-facing, client-facing members of our global leadership teams, and they then have a robust network of change champions, what we call influencers, kind of through the business. And again, they're very much driving all of the kind of ambassadorship and communications, etc. And then we took a test and learn approach. We are still taking a test and learn approach as well. So really kind of, I can't remember who said it earlier, but one of the other panelists earlier talked about the importance of that, test and learn. And it's a new technology, it's cutting edge, you're never going to be ready. So how do you have some of those more kind of pilots, early adopter approaches to really kind of, and then use those people to then be voices in the business to get the buy-in. And then the final thing, and then I'll shut up and you can speak, Manuel. The final thing I would say in terms of that buy-in is the benefits. So we really, really clear on the benefits, because I think it's so easy on a skills journey. It can impact so many things, but the risk is it then dilutes kind of what it is you're saying to the business you can achieve. So we very purposely just chose 3 benefits. We've kept to those 3 benefits. As we're evolving the domains that we roll out, some of them kind of get more heightened, but being very clear on the benefits, and again, making sure the benefits directly connect to your business. And then your final point, I guess, around gigs. We didn't necessarily do anything different. Like gigs has always been one of the domains we were going to roll out, so it's always been part of the plan. The difference I would say we did is we kind of, because we're now 2 years into our journey from when we first started the business case, so we just revalidated and tested that and went to each country and checked, are these still the pain points? Do we need to tweak the messaging slightly to talk to how gigs could solve those pain points type thing? So yeah, I suppose the main thing is just talk the language of the business all the time and solve problems that are business problems, not HR fun stuff that we think is cool tech to use. It is the business language.
And before we do come to you, I did have one more question actually. I loved the way that you've approached the change, and you talk about those sort of 3 genuine partners and the steerco that you have, and where you are in your journey. How frequently do they meet, and how long will you keep that steerco for?
Yeah, good question. So we started monthly. So for the first year and a half, I think we were monthly. We've now gone to 6 weekly, because now we're in a better, we're able to work better together, and we're a bit more of that in that routine kind of way. But still every 6 weeks, it's 90 minutes. So there's a pre-read that religiously goes out. I've actually been chased. I need to read it for next week. There's a pre-read religiously goes out a week before. Everybody reads it. We meet everyone. My program director for SPO meets every single steerco member in that week. leading up to the steerco meeting, so that in the steerco meeting we're not explaining anything, we're actually having that discussion and debate, and then that steerco is absolutely responsible for then walking out that room and being the advocates to drive it forward. So again, it's not the people function. So that probably was one of the best things we did at the start, was set that up and truly maintain that as our governance approach as well. Yeah. And then actually the other thing I should probably say is what we then do after every steerco is we do a broadcast. So we invite everybody in the organisation. It's recorded. You can't ask questions. It's not recorded. It's live, but also recorded. You can't ask questions, so you don't miss out if you're not there. It's just us kind of downloading. This is what's happened in the last 6 weeks. This is what's happening in the next 6 weeks. And then people can reach out if they want to be involved from that human-centred change perspective in any of what's coming up next kind of thing.
That's great. No, I love that. Manuel, we were just talking about the fact that you've got the operational change and the behaviour and the culture. So are you seeing any impact on the leadership mindset?
Well, definitely. So I think the beauty that we had, many of you may find yourself in a situation to be confronted with a "we aren't ready" syndrome. That's how I would call it, right? Gosh, this organization is not ready for this change, right? And many of you may find yourself in that spot. Well, in our case, we really didn't have that situation because we went through a systematic system change. If as a people leader, you're from one day to another not leading 5 people anymore, but 25 to 30, it is very clear that the old way how you have been doing your business doesn't work anymore. It simply doesn't work anymore, right? And if you think about the impact that this has on performance management, on development conversations, it's pretty clear that by design, you'll have to follow a different leadership approach, because otherwise there's no way you're gonna get there. So on our journey, I think there were 2 things that were crucial. Number 1, embracing something like you see here on this slide requires a significant process of unlearning. We have grown all our managers in a system, in a hierarchical system, where their primarily purpose was to walk from one steering committee to the other to operationalize making decisions. Now suddenly, we're telling them, your role is not anymore to make any decisions, because you're delegating the decisions to the bottom of this organization, right? Gosh, this is such a different role as a manager. How are you gonna cope with this? And the way how we've gone about it, we call this the process of unlearning, and be very outspoken about it. Means you will always find yourself, and that is just natural, in a way that you find yourself tapping into your old shoes. How transparent are you about it as a leader, and how much are you encouraging your workings team to speak up if you're behaving like a traditional leader? So this is the one thing. The second thing I think we have learned is don't leave your leaders in such a new operating model alone. So connect them with other leaders that kind of feel lost in that space. Because imagine it would happen to you from one day to another. The thing that you want to do is you want to connect with other leaders to learn how are they coping with this pretty fundamental system shift. And that helps to build up psychological safety. It helps also to people leaders to be vulnerable in a way, because none of them has done this to the extreme like we're implementing it. And creating this connects, I think, has been crucial, and it has pretty much changed the way how we think about leadership. Acknowledging that this is a journey. It's not that you wake up the other day and suddenly, all of those new things that you see here on the slides are going to happen. So also here, it requires time, feedback, and a culture of trust, because otherwise you're not getting there.
I love that, unlearning. I'm going to steal that one.
Steal that.
Tell us a little bit about, I'm curious, the makeup of the leadership within Bayer as well. So are these long-standing individuals within the organization, or do you have a mix of net new with older, more established? Because I'm trying to think about that in the context of change.
Yeah, so look, this is one of the challenges that you have when you go through a pretty systematic system change. You could do it 2 ways. Number 1 is you say, okay, the way how we've done this before, it doesn't work. which is radical per system, and you find new leaders. The problems with this is you'll have significant amount of resistance in the organization. So what we did instead, we said, well, why don't we give those leaders who've done different kind of a chance to embrace this new leadership model and be very outspoken that it's a journey for them. And they will only become better with the feedback from the teams, which is a very different approach. And what we're going to do is we will help people, leaders, to reflect on this journey, but also confront them day one with a new reality, so that by nature, there's no way to escape, in a way, the old habits of doing things. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a recipe for success that I would recommend everybody, but it definitely requires a very courageous way about addressing what you are expecting from future leaders. And our CEO has been very outspoken about this, about the fact that, somebody, I think the panelist before was talking about the bureaucracy. This is busting bureaucracy at its core, right? Because you follow the mission, and everything which is not mission critical, you don't do anymore, with all consequences, right? It's pretty radical. Not saying we've got all the answers, but it's a journey.
No, I love that. Amy, we've talked a little bit about the SPO journey and the strategies that have been most effective for embracing this shift towards skills. Anything else that you want to add in terms of that experience and that journey?
Yeah, I think from a change perspective, obviously I've talked about it being that human-centered change piece, but I think really essentially what feels different about the Eightfold journey and the SPO journey more widely is this is not ending change, right? Gemma and I from Mars were talking about this yesterday, that when we did Oracle, we've got Oracle unfortunately, but any ERP system anyone does, you kind of put it in and then you stop the change and that's it. But actually, I think what I'm hearing is we're all approaching this very much from this is an ongoing transformational journey that doesn't stop when something's implemented, because it is much wider than the technology. It is pulling every lever around the organization. So as I said, change were kind of embedded from the start, both the Mercer team and the Arcadis change team as well. I think anyone who's earlier in the journey, my advice would be think about what you need for change, triple it, and then add quadruple amounts of change. That's been our biggest pain point all along, is actually having the right capacity, but also capability in the change team to do something that is so new and different. I've talked already about the global change network and how essential that is, so it's not the program team driving the change. But I also, someone else earlier was talking about personas, again, a classic change activity, but actually those personas really have been at the heart of all of our philosophy, all of our creation of any assets has all been built around those personas. From a communications perspective, it was funny, I hear it, was it Bianca at AstraZeneca earlier, like we didn't go big bang, we had no comms, and I'm like, we went big bang and we did loads of comms. So we're like the total opposite, and I don't think there's a right or wrong in any way. But for us, we really did want to communicate this as a huge organizational change, not just this thing's happening, but we fundamentally wanted to shift the way we operate as an organization. So that that comms and change piece was really key. But I suppose to pick up on Bianca's point, the bit we've been very clear on is we haven't created any additional comms channels for our SPO journey. It's embedded in all of our current strategic communications. So it's just part of our strategy, as opposed to you've got strategy comms over here and then SPO over here. It's absolutely built into that from a campaign approach. And actually last week, very excitingly, our internal comms team put the SPO program forward to a change and communications award ceremony. Amazing. And they won 3 awards just based on the SPO campaign, which was amazing because it just demonstrates, it wasn't me, it was them. But I guess what was great from a SPO perspective, it was our program, but enabled through comms, but the fact that was recognised externally as being such a strong campaign was just amazing to see. And we made it fun as well, right? It was like, where in the world are your skills? And Arcadis is very corporate. We use corporate language, and but we purposefully were a bit more playful with this to just make it a bit more accessible. But as you'll see on the slide, we just tons of different types of assets, whether it's the CEO doing videos, whether it's the screen you'll see there on all of our computer screens, that's what comes on when you come in the morning. We've all got email banners, all the classic pieces, but very much kind of consistently around comms. So
Amazing. Now, I've just noticed, because I'm very short, I had to do this to see that we're already on 0. So, so I blame my height for that situation. I failed tragically on the time management. I could continue this conversation all day. It's fascinating. Any final remarks before we clear the stage for the next session?
I mean, maybe just one thing. I don't know whether there was ever a moment where I felt comfortable on this journey, because I always felt, gosh, I kind of solved one topic and the next 3 topics are coming and I have no answers for them. Well, that's what it feels on this journey, to be very honest. And I mean, that should not be an excuse to not start your journey. And those journeys could be very, very different. Right? So I encourage everybody to get on your journey and figure out your way. There's no one way, right? There could be multiple ways, like we've heard today or before. And I just encourage everybody to embrace and feel uncomfortable, because this is what this journey is.
I think I'd almost use the exact same words. The phrase I always use is never a good time, there's never a right time, just start, so you're not too late. But also it is a marathon, not a sprint. And whilst the business want you to sprint, actually, like, it is continuously recognizing you open a can of worms every corner you turn, and you sort of breathe in and carry on. But yeah, it's an exciting journey. And I think for me, the final thing I'd say is we're all in it together. Like, what I love most about the Eightfold community is speaking to each other, sharing our experiences, sharing our stories, and helping each other. Because to me, success is every single person on the company in the world on this journey, because then you don't have to sell it anymore. It's just what you do. So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.